welcome back for another book review. Today we are talking about this one. So this is The Magickal Family, Pagan Living in Harmony with Nature by Monica Crosson. Again, these names I'm probably mispronouncing. So the brief description of this book is that it is definitely a memoir, first and foremost, of how the author raised her kids and just kind of giving you advice and tips and whatever from her perspective as she raised her family pagan. I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5, and I'm being very generous because I know that my issues are more so a me thing, but still, I'm feeling generous. It's the early part of the year, and yeah, so it's a generous 3. My own, not public opinion, I'd probably put it at like a 2, but I have to acknowledge that some of my issues is just a me thing, so I'm giving it a 3. The reason being, I started off and I was really loving this book. I was so happy. It was such a great read. It was so much fun. The memoir part was kind of cool, and I was like, oh, these are really great ideas. Like, scrapbook that aside. Probably just gonna buy this book. It's gonna be awesome. And I was like, maybe. Generous first third of the book. Maybe, probably less, to be perfectly honest. Because then the author's bias really just continues to get worse. So it starts off with, like, there's a big bias of how you're supposed to live as a pagan and her idea of what the ideal family is. And it just isn't what me and my family are about. She's super against, like, public schools and is really big on, like, homeschooling. That's personally not something I'm a big fan of, but, like, whatever, you do you. I could look past that. But then you got the eco-shaming. Again, real fun. Also, there's a little bit of privilege with that, which was like, okay. Because just don't be poor was a big message that seemed to be going throughout this. And also, like, specifically, like, if you live in an apartment, this book isn't for you, because there's a huge bias on being able to garden and, like, why would you buy food that's out of season when you could just, like, make a whole bunch of it on your own? And to have, like, cans of, like, you know, like, can it yourself, jar it yourself, and it's like, that's cool if that works for you. That's a lot of money, too, actually. And, like, gardening, everyone acts like it's, like, the cheapest option ever. It's not cheap. First of all, you gotta have the land for it. Second of all, it's expensive to get the good stuff. And thirdly, like, it's a lot of time that not everyone is gonna have. A lot of people are gonna be busy, like, working, and gardens are, like, kind of a full-time job. You got a lot to contend with. You got wild critters trying to eat it. You got the soil not working great. And it could be that I live in a desert, so, like, trying to grow stuff is not easy here. And, like, some people do great, but she lives in Washington, very different climate than here. And then there's the last one that is really the reason that I struggled with this book, because the others are like, whatever. But this one was a personal issue of mine. But she has a huge bias for having biological families. And I don't love that, but we'll get into that in the other notes in just a minute. So again, the intended audience for this book is going to be traditional families, and it's going to have a big emphasis on gardening and, like, eco-consciousness, homeschooling for your young pagans, or your little witchlings, as I will be calling mine when I get some. Would I buy this? Nope. I initially was going to, and then it transpired into chaos, so no, but yeah, maybe you'll like it. So on to some of the specific notes that I have for this book. There's a few, but the big one that, like, because there was, like, I have notes of, like, when I was loving it, like, page 21, I loved the mindfulness exercises that you're supposed to do with your kids. I thought that was really fun, and that'd be great to do even with adults. Like, it's a great option. And then there was, like, poetry masks on page 24, and I'm like, yeah, that's a really cool idea. Again, kids and adults could really, like, embrace the inner child with some of these, you know? Like, that would be awesome. I was like, all right, you know, I have my binder system anyways, and I have my electronic binder version of it, and it's like, all right, I could put that as, like, a save for later for when we have kids, to be like, hey, remember all of those rituals that I found over the years? Boom, there they are. So I was like, I was ready to buy this book. And then we got to the next section. Page 26, there's, and I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, but it looks like Blessing Way. And it's a ritual that just started the down spiral of this book. So the basic premise of that is that it is a pregnancy sort of ritual. And to be honest, it immediately brought up my own shadows. I know it's a me problem. I know it's a personal trigger. It's not somebody else's problem, but it really sucks. And like, I think it's because I read so many books, and especially for, again, how inclusive and open-minded the witchcraft and pagan community tries to be. It's just this like really like slap in the face of cold water thing to suddenly have that completely thrown out the window, because this is a club that I'm never going to be a part of, but it's such a like pedestal of things in the pagan community. And again, it's not the author's fault, but it sucks to be on the outside. And as I was reading it, I had to walk away from the book for a few minutes, and I was like, is this how like the dads feel and like the women who like can't give birth feel, and like lesbian couples? Like, is this how the other mom feels? Like, is that an experience where you're like, I get to watch from the sidelines. Cool. And like, it's just this othering experience, and like, the author does absolutely nothing to make you feel included in that. Because a lot of the other parenting pagan books that I've found, both parents are kind of included. And this was just like, no, it's all about me and my baby and my belly. And it's like, cool, I guess, but it's fun to be excluded. That's great. No mention for like adoption or fostering or anything like that. It's fine. Just, we don't exist. It's fine. And then it got worse on that point. So on page 55, it was under the full moon family unity ritual, which you'd think you could adjust that to make it, and you could for the ritual, to make it so like your family bond is really strong and whatever, and you have everyone involved, and it's a really cute ritual. But it starts off with, this ritual is meant to create a tight family bond. It is a reminder that blood is indeed thicker than water. First of all, you're misquoting it. I tried to find the exact quote. There's a few variations, but the general gist is the same. So I'm going to use the one that's like the most commonly used, which it's a very Christian quote, first of all, but it's actually the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. So you really got that quote wrong, girl. Like, the message isn't what you think it's saying. And I hate that saying that blood is thicker than water, because it, first of all, isn't, because there are plenty of really shitty biological families. And there's a reason the foster system is full of kids. And there's a lot of no contact, low contact families out there. Just because you share a little bit of DNA, it doesn't put you on a pedestal. You have to earn your right in people's lives just as much as everybody else. But that line in particular really bothered me, because that just was an immediate fuck off to everybody who has chosen family. Whether it is chosen because your family is horrible people and they didn't accept you for whatever reason, or you needed to get away and you found your own path, whether it's because of abuse or because like you were gay and they were like, oh my god, like bleh, and they kicked you out, like, and then you found your own family. Chosen family is like a whole, it's a big community of a variety of reasons of how you come to a chosen family. Even in like the magical like communities we have, most people consider their coven as their chosen family too. That is like people you're not related to but are your family. And to just, let alone adoptive families, you're just thrown out the window because blood is thicker than water. Like, girl, no, stop. What are you doing? There are so many people that can't have kids, both sides. Whether it's the dad who isn't able to like produce the kid or the mom isn't able to produce the kid. Both sides of the equation have an issue with that. And like, just stop it. I hate that message. And she doesn't give any kind of a little like acknowledgement to people who can't have their own kids. You're just not even in her radius of existing. And I don't know, that line just in particular irked me so. I had to take like an hour break from this book. I was so mad at the author. I'm like, and I know it's a me problem, but listen, I know I'm not the only one with this problem. And I think I'm a little more sensitive to it because I'm at that age where like a lot of women are getting their babies and like the babies are growing up, and I'm over here like, that's so great for you. I have to get my career shit in order first so that I can get approved to have a kid. I have to play the system to get an unwanted kid because I can't just birth it myself. And it's a journey that you have to go to, but nobody in like the witchy community talks about it. It's just a given. And like you might get a toss out mention, let alone, again, chosen families, variety of reasons. We don't get terribly much further before the anger continued, but on a different avenue. So on page 58 to 59, there is the "Do you really need that?" section, which the main big section is to live harmony begins at home, sacred simplicity and household altars, and it's under the subsection of that, a simple life, subsection of "Do you really need that?" And I'm gonna just read this and we're just gonna roll with it because it's a lot, but it also really just irked me so much. "We are a society driven by our stuff. We try to fill internal voids with material goods. I would be happier if I had a new phone or a better car or a bigger TV. But as the old saying goes, money can't buy happiness. How is happiness attained? Well, according to the," again, this is why I suck at audiobooks, "the contagion," I can read the word, I cannot say the word, "of happiness. A study at Harvard," of course Harvard would pick a word I can't pronounce, that just fits my life. Anyways, "The simple secret is, take care of yourself physically, emotionally, financially. Spend time doing what you love and do for others." Not so difficult, right? Well, it shouldn't be, but unfortunately, as Americans, we are slaves to credit cards and impulse buying. We have to work harder to keep up with the endless cycle of debt, which creates stress. This stress makes us unhappy. So how do we remedy this? Are you ready? First, cut up all of your credit cards. Just think about it. The average American has over $15,000 in credit card debt alone, according to the 2016 American Household Credit Card Debt Study. Eradicating credit card debt means less time at work and more time with family. Second, only go shopping for what you need. Window shopping and perusing sites like Amazon and eBay can lead to impulse buying. Make shopping lists and stick to them. Believe me, escaping materialism is a very freeing experience. Talk about privilege. Like, oh my god. I'm sure you can see the many points at which we could fight for this one, right? And like there's a lot that we could dive into of like, bro, your privilege is so showing. And like, I know that I come from a different place than the author because I live below the poverty line. Like, splurging is like, you're sacrificing food to splurge. And that splurge is like, hey, we're down to like one pair of pants because the rest of them have holes. So I guess we're gonna have to really shrink down the food options and pick even cheaper options to fit that $15 pair of jeans that, because they make them cheap, is only gonna last for a few months. Because me and the hubby both have the problem of chub rub thighs and they eat through jeans a lot. And jeans is just not a material that patches well, especially in the chub rub region. You're just gonna destroy your jeans. It's just an inevitable. We've just accepted our fate. But yeah, honey, no, that's not how that works. Money, in fact, it does buy happiness. It does make it so that you can take care of yourself physically, emotionally, and financially. Do you know how much money actually influences that? It's a you problem if money can't make you happy. Because money buys you food, shelter, your basic necessities. Also, it can buy you therapy. So that's a you problem. And being like, oh, we're slaves to credit card debt. It's like, bro, we're slaves to being American. Because like, you see other countries and all of the comments are just cries in American. We're a poor country, guys. The middle class is basically gone. The richity rich don't care about our existence. And like, girl, check your privilege. I could ramble about that one endlessly. So anyways, to summarize this, because it's getting long and rambly and ranty, there's a big emphasis on gardening, eco-consciousness. That gets old, but really it's just a memoir of her life and what she thinks you should do with your life. Again, there's a lot of eco-shaming, and there was even a thing of like, you can't work with the fae unless you're living green, because obviously then they're gonna be pissed at you. And I'm like, they're gonna acknowledge if you're fucking trying. Like, so out of touch. So out of touch for the majority of people. So anyways, I didn't love this book. Obviously. I would love to know your thoughts on this one because I could ramble endlessly, but my camera's gonna overheat, and then I have to let it underheat. So we're just gonna end this here. But yeah, I would love to know your thoughts on this dumpster fire of a book. I know it's a lot of a me problem. I know I have shadows for the childbirth thing and the poverty thing, but also that's a lot of people's lived experience too. So anyways, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. If you want to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.